Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I want to tell you a story. Today's a really special day for me. It forces me to reflect on how I got here to telling these stories and to doing what I've been doing throughout this pandemic. I asked myself at the beginning of the pandemic two important questions. What do I know, and what does my community need? You have to define who your community is, who those people are, and what they look like. And at the time, it was only some people who were immediate to me. And then that community grew to tens of thousands of people. When I sat down in front of that list that I was writing of what I knew inside and out, what would I do if I couldn't be paid for it? What would I do if nothing mattered? Because it didn't. All of my work had been canceled. I had no idea of how I would be paid or what I would do. And I just said, what do I know? And what does my community need? I knew one of the things on my list was that I knew how to sew. I had started sewing just prior to that, maybe 2.5 years before, after a head injury, and something told me one day to make a dress, and I haven't stopped since. So I knew how to sew. I had some fabric that I'd printed for a hospital, and I decided to make masks for them. No one had mentioned a shortage. No one had said anything about it. I just started making masks. And I posted a picture of them, and someone said, can you get me another 100? And my friend, Dr. Joan Coker, can you get me 100? And I was like, well, yeah, okay, but what? I called my daughter and my niece and said, can you guys help me? Because apparently people are needing these. And they were like, yes. Each person played their part. Each person did what they do, and we started making masks. Most days we worked about 8 hours. Some days, very often, we worked 12. Around the clock making masks. How many more do we need? Well, we needed 50, but we just got a call from a hospital. They need another 200. Okay. And we just go in. We made tens of thousands of masks and sent them, some of everywhere. We never ran out of materials because I used the material that I already had. It was amazing that as soon as things started opening up and people were able to get materials, and everybody needed a mask, because initially only healthcare providers needed them. Then suddenly manufacturers were cranking out masks as quick as they could, and people didn't really, they were like, oh, we don't need your little homemade mask. We can get it from this fancy dancy over here. It's like, okay. But we continue to make masks, and we still make masks for people who can't afford them, but they went to homeless shelters and prisons and all over, everywhere you can imagine. One day I was having a conversation with my financial guy, and he was like, yeah, I know you did a lot of charity work this year, but it only counts if it went to a nonprofit. And I was like, well, what about hospitals? And what about for-profit doctors' offices that couldn't afford to buy anything because they were shut down, and they couldn't, their people, they kept serving people, and it doesn't count. It's like, it counts to God. But that wasn't the thing that fueled me. We weren't doing it to get something. We were doing it to be who we are. Crisis comes and it shows you who you are. I said earlier, this is a special day to me because it's the day that we honor St. Francis of Assisi. And every morning when I came up here, I would start each day by reading that prayer. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, union. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in the giving that we receive, it is in the pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in the dying that we are born to eternal life. As we honor St. Francis today and for the rest of our lives, let's begin to see and think this way. With not what is it that I need, but who is it that I need to be? And who is it that I need to be that for? What do I know? What does my community need? And how can I so love? I love you.